Rock and roll, man.
I could do 45 minutes of listening to that. Thank you, Lonnie. Again, I actually talked to Lonnie the other day, man. But
Yeah?
Yeah, a little bit back and forth in the DMs. He sent me a couple new things, and I was like, man, this one's really good. Looking for like an outro or whatever. I'm like, but I'll save it because maybe Adam's got something in the works that he might like it.
Does he play all those instruments?
Yeah, dude, and he sent me some things. I'll send them to you if hopefully he doesn't mind. But him singing too, dude. He's
really
fucking good.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah, dude. Great talent. Unbelievable talent.
I mean, I play back in the day, I was pretty not prolific or anything, but like a really good trombonist. Like I play trombone. Like I play trombone. Play it hard. I can pluck some chords on a guitar. To play more than one instrument, it just blows my mind because there's a lot there.
Yeah, guitar's so much fun. You know, I had a buddy that was really good at it, and he kind of taught me a little bit, and it was cool. You know, I wasn't playing like I think it's a chord when you play multiple strings at once, right? I was just the one string at a time, so like you could play System of a Down like bow 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 bow, you know. So I do that. Yes. Yeah. So, I wanted to tell you something else that I learned today from a coworker, and I really got to watch my P's and Q's because I think some of my coworkers watch this now. We've got to be real careful, but this isn't bad. This is like just a little insight into why it's so hard. Like we have in our area, we have one detox facility and that's it. And like the other ones are hours away. And so I found out a little bit why that is. And hello, thank you, government, for making things so great. So what you have to do in order to have a Medicaid detox, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I was told today by somebody that is in the know. To have a Medicaid detox, they want by the time you get 24 hours from the time they walk in the building to get an ASAM done. Now, I don't know if everybody knows what an ASAM is, but that's what, if you go and ask to get treatment at a facility, like an outpatient facility, they have to do an ASAM first. They got to go through these list of questions that are required by the insurance company. And so it's an assessment, right? So you got to go and have your assessment, then you do your treatment planning, and then you have your other appointments. So you have 24 hours from the time they walk into the building to get the assessment done. Then in the next 24 hours, you have to have a treatment plan done. So you have to do an ASAM and a treatment plan in 48 hours.
One person's tripping balls.
Somebody is all fucked up. Probably can't keep their fucking... This person was telling me that there were times that they sat outside the bathroom while somebody was in there upchucking and asking them questions. I'm like, she was like, so how much did you drink last time you drank? And it's like, was that instant? Was that the answer?
Yeah. So when you said detox facility, I was thinking about my experiences in treatment, and I guess that's the difference. I never went to a Medicaid treatment. They were all private insurance. Because I remember they were like, all right, look, you're going down in the basement where it's dark and you're going to sleep and you're going to come up to go to the nurse's station and blah, blah, blah. Then you're going to go back to sleep. There's some food over there if you're hungry. Other than that, don't go anywhere else.
Right. That's how it was for me too. But that place is 2.5 hours from everybody down here. Like
Yeah,
they had nice, comfortable beds. They had nice and warm in there. And like, so she was telling me like the place that they had, like, so if you have 6 beds,
Mhm.
and 6 people come in one day, they're full, and then you're shuffling people in and out. The next day you could have 6 new people, 6 new ASAMs, and then 6 new treatment plans that you have to get done. It's just, so people don't open them because it's too much fucking work.
Now, is it just a detox facility, or is it got a treatment program attached to it? Because to
Well,
me, why do you need a treatment plan if you just a
So,
detox facility?
for insurance. So like if you go, yeah, I mean, that's requirements from the insurance companies to get those things done. Yep.
Interesting.
Is it? Yeah. And so, it just, we think that, it's just so easy to make a phone call and go somewhere and get some help. It's just not. And, if you got, like, I have clients that have private insurance that have went to places like, I'm in Michigan. They went to like places in Ohio where they were served like gourmet meals there. And, they had, it was like a vacation, and that's great. That's great. It obviously helped this client, doing pretty well, but not everybody can do that. So, I've shared a little bit about my first experience at a treatment center, and they got to get people in and they got to get them out, and they get paid, and they get them in, they got to get them out. So
have you had your discussion with the state rep yet?
So that'll be 8 days.
All right. So that's definitely something to bring up to him.
Yeah. Well, and his wife is a substance use therapist, so he already understands some of it, and that's part of the reason probably why he's coming in here. I'm gonna be like, you know what, dude, put me on the front lines, pay me minimum wage, just give me the avenue to go out and like learn and help. And
Right.
I'm not gonna say that. This is about people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hi, Kyle. Thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, you know what? I didn't log in. I don't see any of the stuff. Oh well.
Oh yeah, log in. Well, maybe. Well, I'll tell you. I'll keep you posted. Kyle says, "Sup, guys."
What's up, Kyle?
So that's my new news. Yeah, we've had a client come in and try to get into treatment, and the craziest thing happened. We called the access number that we're supposed to. Somebody answered, and then they said, "Well, just go ahead and call the treatment facility," which is completely different. That's how it used to be. And so my boss is like, "Well, write that down. And who did you talk to?"
Right.
And it's like, fuck, I didn't ask the dude's name, and I don't remember who it was, but
Yeah.
it's just so confusing, man. It's so confusing.
Now I wonder what happens when you call the treatment facility. They're like, "Wait, you got to call them first." Like, we did call you.
Yeah.
So now they're going. Huh?
Yeah, he called the treatment facility, and they're like, "Oh yeah, can you get here by 4 tomorrow?" And I was like, "Holy shit, sweet."
Hey, roll with it. It's like, yeah, okay, sounds good. I'll go for it.
Yeah, so I've been running my mouth. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I just had an out and back trip to Charlottesville. So flew from Atlanta into Richmond, drove to Charlottesville, drove back to Richmond, flew back to Atlanta, drove on. But the company pays us a lot of money to do that, so I was like, I got you.
Hell yeah.
Not that often. So, but yeah, things are good. Things are good. My daughter's birthday is on Monday, so we're having a birthday party. Ice cream truck is coming out on Saturday for all her friends. Yeah, so it's like.
Does she know?
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, when birthday parties when I was a kid, you got the little plastic cup with the cardboard lid and the little wooden like popsicle spoon. It was either vanilla or chocolate. And the burnt tombstone pizza. But yeah, things are going great. It's I can't believe we're halfway through the first month of the year.
Incredible.
Time is flying.
So fast.
Flying. So let's jump into this thing.
Yeah. So the question that I posted was, what does it mean to be sober? What does it mean to be in recovery? And is there a difference?
I wish we could have like people calling in like Paul Feinbaum does on his sports shows, or Howard Stern's like.
And there's probably software where I could do that, and if I get the financial means to do it, I would fucking love to.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, Kyle. I'm glad somebody else knows what I'm talking about.
I mean, if you're listening on YouTube, you can post a comment there, and I'll try to poke over there and see. But if you're listening on X, we can see your comments. I believe we just can't respond to them in the chat. So
that's
it's really weird.
Picture.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
So what do you think, man? What is sober? What is recovery? And is there a difference?
So my views on this have changed over the years. I think I used to say, how was it that I used to put it? I used to say that I was always trying to be in recovery, not necessarily sobriety. Being sober was just being clean, and being in recovery was working on making myself a better person. I have had some good conversations with other people who don't quite think the same way as I do, and they made some really good points about almost kind of reversing the two, where recovery can be you are still trying to better your life, but you may not necessarily be sober, and sobriety being the act of bettering your life off of the influence of drugs and alcohol. So I'm not sure which way I like thinking about that anymore. And it's kind of funny when I try to think about it now, because it's been so long since I've tried to classify myself as one or the other. I consider myself effortlessly sober in the fact that I don't really work at not drinking anymore. It's just my identity now. So I would guess I would have to say, based off of me personally, if I'm effortlessly sober, means that I don't have to fight the urge or the temptation to drink. It's not something that I think about as an option for myself. And I would say that I'm no longer really in recovery, because I'm not trying to recover what I lost to my alcohol use. I feel like I've gotten to a point where I've recovered that sense of who I was before I got really into abusing and being addicted to alcohol. And I feel like I have gone past who I was. I've become, I have grown so much spiritually, emotionally, and mentally that I am a better version. So am I in recovery? I'm not trying to recover anymore. I feel like I'm in growth. So it's interesting, because when I saw the question you posted, it's kind of like the one you posted earlier on Twitter that I said, I'm sitting here at the airport thinking about it. It's hard for me to apply those to myself anymore. I'm definitely sober, but I don't think I'm in recovery anymore. And I know there's going to be a lot of people like, you're always in recovery. And I'm like, that's not the way I think about it. So
effortless sobriety. I like when you say that. It's kind of like, for me, I think of it as like we're getting older. We're not doing anything to get older. It's just what is, right?
Exactly. And that's why I say it's the identity. The easiest way for me to put it is that I have done so much work on who I am as a person on a subconscious and a belief level that alcohol is just not an option. I was actually having a conversation driving back from the airport with a buddy of mine who I met at the last treatment center I went to, who he's on and off the bandwagon a lot. And he was drinking tonight. He was, man, I'm drinking tonight. I was like, Kevin, dude, I love you either way. You know that. So I'm glad you called me. We had a great conversation. And how did he put it? I can't even remember exactly how I was going to tie this in. But yeah, I mean, it's the identity now. It's just, this is what I was going with. So I was in Australia for the 2 months, and he was saying, "Man, I was so worried about you being over there because, if you're gonna slip and drink, being on the 180 degrees on the other side of the planet is the place to do it. No one will ever know." And I'm so glad you didn't. And he was telling me all this stuff, and I was like, "Man, that's the difference. Is it wasn't an option.
Yeah.
It's just not who I am anymore." Kyle, coming up on 6 years. Yeah, 6 years. So, but I would say the effortlessly sober part is, well, when did we start talking? God, we're coming up on almost 3 years of talking.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man.
I would say I would say it's been in the last 2.5 to 3 years that I've come into that realization. I definitely started calling myself effortlessly sober about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. The big switch for me was when I was able to identify and change one of my underlying beliefs of it's okay as long as you don't get caught. Once I was able to identify that and I said it out loud, it was like a switch just flipped, and sobriety became very easy. It was not effortless, and it wasn't for a long time. I still had to work at it a little bit, but it was so much easier with the cognitive behavioral therapy that I was working with, and then the identity work that I did on my own, and the mindfulness, and learning to watch thoughts and observe thoughts. So it's a lot of work that went into it. It's not something I don't think that you can just be like, "Hey, I figured out that one issue, and now it's not a problem." So it's just when problems arise now that I used to drink about, it's just not an option. I just don't even consider it.
Where did you get these tools that you used?
So CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is something used by counselors and psychologists all the time. It is a form of therapy in that it goes and helps you understand the underlying beliefs that influence your thoughts, that influence your actions. What's funny is I have a degree in this, and I don't remember the actual components of CBT anymore. That was 20 years ago. But that's the concept behind it, is determining the underlying beliefs that are driving behavior.
Yeah, and I mean, all people need to do is hear CBT, and then they can go from there. And say, "What is that? I'd like to find out more." And that's the purpose of the Sober Heathen, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is let's throw out everything that we can throw at this thing, and you pick what works. You know what I mean? Like,
CBT was a game changer for me, and I knew about it. I just don't think I'd ever had a counselor who knew how to implement it the right way.
So what really turned the corner for me for, really being able to investigate my thoughts was EMDR. And I didn't even do the full spectrum. You're supposed to have your eyes closed, and you're supposed to be in this, your eyes covered, and there's supposed to be more to it. All we had was I held paddles in my hand, and the psychiatrist would say, "Okay, what do you want to work on?" And I'd say, "Okay, my relationship with my mother." Okay. And then I would close my eyes, and he'd turn the paddles on, and they'd vibrate at whatever speed. And he'd say, "What did you see?" And then I would talk about what I saw. And then he'd say, "Okay, go with that." And I heard somebody describe it today, like EMDR is like the therapy where the therapist never says anything. And it's beneficial. So I don't know what it's something about the vibration of the paddles and the noises and stuff. It activates both sides of your brain, I guess, or it activates different parts of your brain with the vibrations. So you're kind of thinking both ways, I guess. I'm probably destroying really what it is, but it was really interesting. And I would sit there, I'd come up with the topic, and then I'd tell them what I was thinking about, and I would just start crying because I'd never thought of it in that way before. So EMDR is another one to look into if you can find somebody that knows how to do it.
Yeah. I've had some acquaintances, buddies at the time that were in treatment, who said that they were doing EMDR, but I don't think they were using paddles. I feel like they were telling me it was rapid eye movement back and forth, like left, right, up, down, up, down, up, down.
Yep.
And it was almost, I guess the way the counselor was taking them through it, it was kind of like, blank on the word. It was basically going back and it was reframing some of those memories, kind of like you're rewriting them a little bit. Hold on, man. I'm sorry. I gotta have to take this phone call. They keep calling.
No problem.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. So thanks, Ryan, for posting that. Clearly you've had some experience with EMDR. And by Ryan, I mean Pug. Hi, Our Life in Horror. Ooh. Yeah, it can help with repressed memories. I've heard that. Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, there's just so many things out there that, I never heard of until, I was in treatment and, really trying to explore myself and doing a lot of research. And not even research, just being honest and saying, this isn't working. And so, okay, let's try this. You know what I mean? Okay, let's try this. And just keep plugging away at it. How about anybody else that might be listening? We got some people in the comments here. What are your thoughts? What does sober mean? What does recovery mean? And is there a difference? I guess I'll yak while Adam is gone. They obviously mean different things. I think the word that I use the most is probably recovery. When a new client comes in and says, comes in looking for help. Okay, so what are your plans? What are your goals for recovery? And that's more of an encompassing thing, because recovery can mean a lot of different things. Sobriety to me means, okay, I want to be sober all the time, right? So I'm in sobriety. I don't drink, smoke. I don't use it all. Recovery can be different, right? So if you've seen any of the posts from Thrive Recovery and Katie over there at Thrive, talks a ton about the Sinclair method. That's another method out there. So far already tonight we talked about cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, EMDR, and now we're to the Sinclair method, which is a form of recovery. But that recovery isn't sobriety because you're still drinking, or you can still drink. So recovery to me can mean a lot of things. I feel that if a client comes in who's drinking a fifth a day and they say, my goal is to be down to a 6-pack on the weekend, that's recovery, because I get what Adam's saying, and I agree, like recovery is probably the wrong word for it, but you're trying to recover from bad habits. So you're trying to go back to what you were, right? So I don't like the fact that I'm drinking a fifth a day. I'd rather have it be less. So I'd like to go to here. Okay, well, how can we do that? And I think that's a big difference between the two.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. When I was in the fitness industry, somebody comes in and needs to lose 100 pounds, and I do a food log with them. It's like, all right, tell me what you've been eating for the last 24 hours. And it's a Big Mac for lunch, and it was an Egg McMuffin for breakfast, and there's a Snickers in there, and blah blah blah. I'm not going to be like, all right, well, now I want you to eat eggs for breakfast and a tuna salad for lunch. Like, we're not going to do that. We're going to, all right, well, let's change. Let's improve this. And improving might mean, you know what? Let's add a salad in with your Big Mac. I'm not going to take the Big Mac away yet, but we're going to add some good stuff in. So I think anything that is getting you on the road to not drinking is.
And I hope everybody's sitting down, because I'll say one more thing that's going to be severely controversial to a certain crowd. I believe that your recovery starts the moment that you decide to make a change and start to do anything toward that new change. So I drink too much. I called and made an appointment to go get an assessment. You've started the journey. You're on your recovery journey. You're on a path. And I think that's important. And that gives people hope, because I think what happens in some areas, people start making changes and they're like, oh, you still got a lot to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got to look, and we got to The hardest thing for the people that come in my groups and that I sit down with is we're already beating the shit out of ourselves tooth and nail. It is so hard to see the positives. And I can't tell you how many faces I've seen go from I suck, everything I do sucks, to did you come here today? Yes. Did you go to all your groups today? Yes. That's all you needed to do today, right? So you didn't miss these things. Go home knowing that you did everything that you could today, especially when I do the intakes and it's a brand new person coming in and there's like, I need help, Scott. I've lost this or that. Okay, what did you need to do today? Well, I need to come in here. Okay, mission accomplished. You're signed up. You have an appointment. Go home tonight, and at least for tonight, rest easy knowing that you did everything that you can today. But we're so hell-bent on, did you do this? Did you need to do this? You need to do this. Okay, you need to change everything right now. 180. Never drink again, or it's a failure. We need to lose that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite quotes is, it gets attributed to lots of people, but it's, people grossly overestimate what they can accomplish in a week and way underestimate what they can accomplish in a year.
Yeah.
You take that down to the day level that you're doing too. So,
yeah, that's great.
I was going to say something too. So this was kind of a tangent to Kyle's comment that you had up there.
Let's go back to that.
Yeah, it's like, so one of the things that I think really, really helped me in my journey with alcohol, with just getting my life on track in all areas, is this concept of perspective and perception. And the fact that we as humans and as, groups of people use words interchangeably that don't necessarily always have the same meaning. And Kyle, I'm not calling you out. Don't take this, personally or anything, but you say, personally, I was a dry drunk for years, too many relapses, so I cannot be just sober anymore. So right there, what you're saying, and the reason I point this out is because how you speak and how you talk and how you write directly influences your subconscious and how you believe. So right there, you're making the comparison that sober equals dry drunk. Sober, and then, when I point it out to you, you might logically go, well, no, they're different. So you're equating to, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but what I'm seeing is, personally, I was dry drunk. I cannot be just sober anymore. So if sober equals dry drunk, then you have to be in recovery. But what you're telling yourself on a deeper level is that I have to constantly be doing something to avoid drinking alcohol. Otherwise, I am going to drink alcohol. And this is the kind of therapy, counseling, spiritual work, whatever you want to call it, that starts to get looked over in classical treatment. And when people start talking about spirituality, it doesn't necessarily just mean finding a higher power. Yeah. This is getting down into AA likes to think that Carl Jung is on their side. And while he's not really an enemy to AA, a lot of what is in the big book about what Carl Jung said about Ebby and Roland, I can't remember all their names, but all the stories, it's a little bit twisted around to make it fit the story that the big book is portraying. So there's a lot of work just in that one statement that you can do to start changing underlying beliefs that change the thoughts that come up so that you don't have the thoughts where you go, I'm going to need to drink about this. So there's more to that process, but that's just something I wanted to point out. Perception and perspective and the words we use and how we use them every day make a huge difference in how you behave.
100%. 100% agree. So I'm going to get accused for being fluffy and not strict enough when I say what I'm about to say. So I'm going to reread your comment. I hope you're still listening, Kyle. And I'm going to do it in a way that I think is more productive, because we get in this cycle of self-deprecation, and I think that's what starts the whole fucking thing. And then we're still doing it outside of that. So how about personally, I struggled for years, many relapses. So I have to do more work. We could say something like that. Like, there's more things that I have to do, because I can. This is just a guess, Kyle. I don't know who the hell you are, but thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I can only guess that you were probably doing some sort of work during those years where you had those relapses. I can only guess because just the way that you said it. I was dry drunk for years, too many relapses. Relapses mean that you stopped and then you started again. So that's why I'm making that assumption.
Yep.
And I could also bet, just probably $1 because I think that's all I have in my account, that you remember some of the things that you learned as you were going through that, and that made you to where you are today, which I have to assume is in recovery or free from addiction. I like to use free. I like Adam's better, but I can't use the same thing that he does for the sobriety. Freedom from the addiction. Okay. So Adam is absolutely right. And I've told the story before, and I know we got new people listening, so I will repeat myself. Sorry for those that have heard this 100 times. But when I was in treatment, I started doing the positive affirmations in the mirror 3 times a day, forcing myself to say 3 nice things, whether I believed it or not. It made a change in my psyche. It made a change in my head, and I started to feel better.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't, it wasn't go look in the mirror and say, "You fucking piece of shit, you're back here again, dude. Kids aren't fucking talking. You lost all that money, you lost the job." But I just faked it for a second. You're a good dad. You're a good person. You're going to make it through this. And those things, I would cry the first few times I did it because I didn't believe it. And I hated even saying nice things to myself. But that's where we're at. I think that's why we get to where we're at anyway. So the words that you're saying to yourself are very important, right? So how many times into this, I can prove it, right? How many times have you had this thought in your head and you're like, "Oh, this is golden," or "This is so true." And then you say it out your mouth and you're like, "Oh my God, that was not right." That doesn't sound nearly as good coming out my mouth as it did in my head. You know, how many times has that happened to us?
Yeah.
So just change the words and the way that you think about yourself. Yeah, okay, I didn't get it right the first time. So fucking what? Nobody does. And the people that say they did, good for them. You know what I mean? That is just not what happens consistently.
Yeah, that's definitely not the norm. And the people that like to rub it in your face about being the one chick wonder, well, go fuck yourself.
Right? Great. Celebrate the shit out of it, dude. But don't.
Good for you. Don't make me feel bad about it.
Don't make it a mechanism to be greater than. You know what I mean? You're not greater than because you've been to more meetings. You're not greater than because you have a year more than this person, or you have more chips than this person. You're not greater than this. Quite frankly, we don't get into addiction on our own. We have help, right? And so we have to have help to get out of the motherfucker too.
Yeah.
And so that's what we should be doing. And I had people, again, I post shit because it's fucking social media, and that's what I'm supposed to do. And these are things that I see on a daily basis. People think that I'm just on there bitching about whatever I'm bitching about just because it's fun. It is fun, but it's also shit that I'm seeing. People walking through the doors every single day where I work, and I see every single one of them. And these are the struggles that they're having. So I put it out there into the universe to have a discussion so I can learn something. So maybe somebody else can learn something, and maybe somebody out there that's struggling, keeping quiet, just reading the comments, might see something that'll help them. And so if I speak negatively about a certain pathway, I'm not picking on it, especially when I'm telling you what is true, right? So if I say like, W did psychedelics, that's true. He did that. If I say that the success rate of AA by the best studies is less than 10% or around 10%, that's true. I'm not making it up and I'm not belittling it. For Christ's sake. Again, I'm saying something I've said many times. I loved AA for many years until I stopped just regurgitating the company line, read it for myself, thought for myself, and started looking outside the box a little bit. Okay, end rant.
It's okay. Everybody's going to rant every now and then.
We appreciate you too, Kyle. Thank you for being a part of the discussion.
Yep. So what else? I saw you do somebody else's comment up there. What was that? Was it a Patrick?
Let's see here.
Or no? Definitely not a Patrick, man. I just pulled that one out of nowhere. So sober is being your sober and recovery is doing the work. Oh yeah, maybe you can think about it that way. That's why this is so hard, is because No one has ever, like, there is no definitive definition anywhere. That's like, if you really want to get some people riled up, be like, there's no such thing as alcoholism. It is not medically defined anywhere, man. That is alcohol use disorder. Like when I was in school, you had alcohol use, alcohol misuse, and alcohol abuse. Those were the 3 levels of alcohol problems. And then they took that out of the DSM-4, and then it was alcohol dependency and something else. So dropped it down to 2 categories. And then now I don't think there's really anything in there. There's an addiction component of the DSM-5, which is the diagnostics manual that they use for psychologists and psychiatrists. But there's an addiction component, but it's so hard to classify those things because it's made up of very subjective, not necessarily objective criteria. So if you meet like 2 out of the 7, then, well, you have alcohol habits. If you meet 5 out of the 7, it's just like, but you're grading that off of what you think. There's not any, objectivity to it. So,
yeah, I don't know a whole lot about that, even though I probably should know more about it than what I do. But I do know that, we throw a lot of things at things because we need to get things paid for.
Yeah.
In the treatment area. So we got to come up with some things, careful what you say here, McDonald. So like we had somebody that came in that was very upset and wanted some help, because couldn't find a therapist anywhere in town. And so like, I'm like, and this person did not have a substance use disorder. So I'm like, what do I do? This super nice person is in here bawling their eyes out in my office. And because they don't have a substance use disorder, there's nothing, I don't know what to do. So I went and I asked. And so what I was told was, well, ask if they smoke. And I never thought about smoking and tobacco to be a thing that we could, this is right when I first started working where I work. So I went in, I'm like, hey, do you smoke? On occasion. Bingo. So now we put nicotine use disorder in there because you do smoke, right? And so now you're here to address your nicotine usage. And now we got this nice young person, a therapist to talk to, and they've been coming ever since.
Oh, wow.
It's been like a year. So you got to do things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, I get it.
So yeah, maybe no. And just for the insurance people that are listening, she absolutely struggled with nicotine. It was really bad. She needed the help.
So I was just reading that last comment. I think I've been thinking about this the whole podcast. To me, I think the way I would define sober right now is I am clean. I don't use, but I know that it's a problem and that I have to avoid it every day. And recovery is sober. Well, I don't want to say that. Recovery is I am taking active steps to improve my usage situation. You could possibly be sober and in recovery at the same time. Doesn't necessarily mean they're mutually exclusive. But I think that's how I would do it. Sober is I don't use, I know I have a problem, and I know that I have to actively stay away from whatever it is. And recovery is I am working some type of program to improve my situation around my use.
Yeah, what Adam said. Go ahead, Adam. You can answer that one.
Yeah, no, I would not say that I'm in recovery anymore. I would say I am recovered. I am a recovered alcoholic. Mm-hmm. That's exactly if you're gonna force me to label it, I'm a recovered alcoholic.
Yeah. I would say the same. It gets a little hairy out in the wilderness if you say that you're not an alcoholic anymore. So to keep the peace, we say we're a recovered alcoholic, or I say I'm a recovered alcoholic.
And I'll tell you exactly why I say that. Because the alphabet gremlins are going to say, "Oh, well, prove it then and go drink."
Oh God, yes.
How many times you get? I know you get that all the time.
I get it all the fucking time.
So here's the difference. I don't have any of the emotional hangups, any of the spiritual hangups, any of the psychological hangups, anything around needing to use, wanting to use, having to use alcohol. That's why I say I'm recovered. I know that as soon as I put it in my body, the entire brain dysfunction around the dopamine system is going to get thrown back out of whack. It may not be immediately. I don't think it is immediately, but all of the neural pathways are already lying there dormant. And that's where the AA slogan of, it's a progressive disease. It's out there doing push-ups while you're here in the meetings. It's not that it's getting worse while you're sober and not using. It's that the pathways are already there. You're not having to recreate them. They're just, as soon as you put it back in, we're off to the races, like a dry riverbed. The riverbed's still there, and as soon as it floods, guess what? We got a river again. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I'm going to quit putting comments up because I can see it distracting you. And then I'm over here. I had something that I wanted to add to that, and then I read a comment and it's freaking gone. But Coop DeVille says, "Oh, hey, Coop. I believe I can't really see the picture, but are you the Coop that I went to Harbor Hall with? I believe recovering is working on yourself to the best of your own ability, and doing the work to the best of your ability isn't possible on drugs or booze. Just being clean and sober is not using or working on yourself."
Yeah, I mean, I could roll with that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what I just said.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I want to make a distinction though between what I said being sober as I know that I have a problem with alcohol, I can't use alcohol, and I'm actively working to stay away from it every single day, versus being a dry drunk and white knuckling.
Yeah.
So white knuckling is completely different because.
Can I just say I fucking hate the term dry drunk? Like it is just such a ridiculous thing. Like I'm acting like a dry. I'm not drinking, but I'm acting like a drunk. No, you're not. You got shit. You got to work out, man.
Yeah. No, you're doing something right because you're not drinking.
Yeah. So you're already winning. So you just there's things that.
Yeah, that's another tangent. I could go off on that tangent too, but I think that was a necessary evil. Well, I don't know. I think that was a slogan, a term that was brought up by somebody in a room somewhere because somebody wasn't following some sponsors' instructions to the T. I feel like that's where that came from.
Yeah. Because I mean, stop reading comments, Scott. God damn. But anyway, that is the Cooper that I was in treatment with, man. It's really good to see you. I hope you're out there killing it, my friend.
Oh, awesome.
God damn it. I'm on the shit list. Did you see that? Can you see the comments now?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I just, all I do is talk shit to anybody. Go check out my feed, and there's like 4 people that'll tell you that all I do is I'm a negative Nancy. Yeah, so recovery for me, like my life used to be wake up hungover, go to work, wonder when I'm going to get out or how I can go get alcohol, especially at the end. Like, how am I going to drink it on the job and not get caught? Thank God for COVID and the masks, by the way. That helped tremendously. And then how am I going to get home? How am I going to hide it? Where am I going to put it? How am I going to get rid of it? How am I going to not get caught at home? None of those thoughts are in my head anymore.
Yeah.
Ever. So, I mean, only alcoholics think like that, right? So if I'm not thinking like that, isn't it a little bit fair to say that I'm no longer an alcoholic? I think so, but others will disagree, and that's okay. We can disagree. As long as we, as long as you're willing, as long as you're willing to have a discussion about it. I am wrong a lot, and I like to learn, so I'm okay with being wrong. But when I say something or Adam says something and you come back with, the worn out, it works if you work it, take what you need and leave the rest. If that's all you're bringing to the table, then just keep scrolling. I mean, I don't mean that literally. I want you to be involved. I want you to come up with something, but I want you to think for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's probably the main point to most of what I post is think for yourself.
Yes.
Figure out who you are and then ask the questions as to why you're doing something. Is it to make yourself better? Is it to make someone else's ego feel better? Is it just because that's the way it's always been done? Is it because we know that if you do this, it works, but we have no idea why? Find out the reason why you're doing the things that you're doing. And around your sobriety and recovery too, but everything else in your life. I mean, ask yourself why you do the things you do.
I just asked myself why I did the things that I did, Adam.
Yeah.
Because you made me think of something. When I was, pardon the expression to the younger crowd that might be listening, when I was balls deep in the big book, and I was doing big book studies in treatment, Cooper might remember that. I don't know. I don't know if he came to those or not. But I was doing big book studies, and, you know, it was my goal to memorize the steps. I had how it works memorized. Like I would always pick how it works because I could set the fucking paper down and read 90% of it or more. That was my goal. I was doing that for street cred in these meetings. You know, when I go to these meetings, you got these old timers or whatever, you know, like, I'm serious. Look at me. I got the steps memorized. I got how it works memorized. You know, I can tell you this and that and the other thing about it. Look how good I'm doing in my recovery. And it didn't do a fucking thing for me. I fell on my face every fucking time. I wasn't doing it to get better for myself. I was doing it for the other people. And so you have to recognize that. You know, you can't lie to yourself. You can try, but you can't. You can say, yes, I'm going to go to 4 meetings next week, knowing in your head that you have no plans whatsoever of doing that. So if you can get real honest with yourself and say these things, you can get a lot farther quicker. And I didn't learn that until far too long into the whole damn thing.
Yep. Yeah, great points. Great points. I remember having the same thoughts, but like, all right, well, I guess I need to memorize all this stuff. So that, you know, I look like I know what I'm talking about in the meetings.
They told me it works if you work it. So I was trying to work the frick out of it. And listen, all people are hearing that are pro AA right now is he's just bashing it. I am not. I am telling you it did good things for me. And I'm telling you that I went about things the wrong way to try to impress people that didn't matter when I should have been working on myself. Yeah. It did everything that I needed it to do to a point, and then I needed more and something else. Yeah. And I feel like if people would have been honest with me from go about it, then it would have been great.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Words are important. Here we go. Let's see what Coop has to say. Two different perspectives. On one side, you have the person that doesn't want to call themselves an addict or alcoholic because they don't want to be that anymore. Maybe on the other side, you have the person that has to remind themselves that they were that person at one time, so they don't go back to it.
Absolutely. So yeah, two different perspectives.
Yep.
My point is that realize why you have the perspective you do. Mm-hmm. So if you are the person that needs that constant daily reminder, that's perfectly fine. And I have never come back at anybody, like when we get some of these Twitter arguments and I mean arguments that I've had with other people, I've never come back at somebody that says, I have to play the tape every single day, otherwise I'm going to drink. That's why I call myself that. I was like, okay, cool. The people that come at me and say, you know, you have to be this as well. You know, like this is the perspective.
Yeah.
You know, I if you don't say this every single day, you're going to drink. I'm like, no, that's not my perspective. So that's great, Coop, that you see that. And as long as you know which one's yours and why you're doing that, not just because someone told you this is the way you have to look at it.
I think the best response when somebody says, you know, I am this, and it has to do with them bettering their lives, we just say, that's awesome. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
When you start saying, yeah, but you didn't do it this way, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, so you're not really in recovery. That's where the big problem is. And those are the only people that I have a problem with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the reason that I'm passionate about speaking the way I do about recovering from alcohol is because of one of the AA slogans. I don't know if it's a slogan or it was just a piece of advice you hear all the time, but it's find the person who has what you want and go ask them how they did it. And I could never find anybody in a single meeting that I went to, and I went to them every day for 3 years, that had what I wanted. The people that had the type of recovery and sobriety that I was looking for didn't go to AA. They did at one point, but they realized that they needed something different. They figured out a way to do it for themselves so that alcohol no longer was part of their identity. And that's what I chased after. So I did learn that from AA.
Yeah. Well, and we have clients all the time that I think that want what some of these people have in there, but the route to get there isn't AA. You know what I mean? It's just, and again, I did my best not to bring up AA till the very end. Adam made me do it.
I do it. I do it all the time. I don't have the same hang-ups as Scott, so you blame me.
Yeah, I'm just going to put this one all on Adam.
Yeah, go for it.
Look, at the end of the day,
we know who's coming.
Look, when I talk about working in the facility, I hate even messing it sometimes too, because I think that people might take it as like, I think I know better. I don't know better, but I do experience it every single day. I experience people coming in, begging to find alternatives to the AA or NA groups that we have around here. That doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that they're not working for those people.
Yeah, exactly.
And they want something different.
Exactly.
So it's
that is exactly the point. Is that it doesn't mean they're bad. If I would be able to write down what I did and put it into steps and go walk into an AA meeting and be like, hey, look, try these steps.
Yeah.
But people are going to be like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
This doesn't work for me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Same. So, yeah. And the thing is, these aren't just peer groups where you're going in to get support. When you go to these meetings, there is an agenda and there's a standard and there's practices that they want you to do. Yeah. And if those practices don't work for you, then you need to find something else. And we should be supportive of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
peer groups and peer support is legitimately an amazing tool to use.
Yeah. Yeah. I just did a training today about trauma-informed care, and there were probably 100 people in there, and the person doing it was like, peer supports and in our facilities and everywhere, going into the jails or wherever are so vital, because you immediately have an understanding of what these people are going through.
Yeah, exactly. And that is part of why meetings work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've said this multiple times in the past, is that when Bill and the first initial posse got together and really kind of put structure to AA, they hit on so many things that you have to do in order to really, I think, get completely out of addiction. But it was accidental. You know, it was like, we're going to do all these things. They had no idea what they were doing, whether you want to call it divine providence, a higher power leading them to it. They hit on a whole bunch of stuff, but they never went any deeper on any of them to really kind of just solidify it.
Yeah.
And trauma-informed care, we have a fancy name for it now, but it was peer groups.
So in the trauma-informed care, if we followed that and took it into an AA meeting, there'd be a lot of people in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Because the re-traumatization that can happen in those meetings, if people aren't careful, is terrible.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you want to hear my little spiel about that, go check out. I just told my story. I think it was last week.
Yeah.
What happened to me with my last sponsor, and you have things like that happen, that can be catastrophic. And so, these people, they're not professionals. Some of them might be professionals by trade, but they're not. And I'm not, look, there's bad therapists out there too. We can go all day long and nitpick apart everything. But we all know that there are people, you probably think of the guy or gal's face in a meeting if you've been to it, like that's a know-it-all. You can probably think of that person right in top of your head. I already got 2 images in my head.
Yeah.
So, you can't get through to them. They know everything and they will tell you how to figure it out. Right. And so just be careful.
Yep.
Don't listen to us. Don't, listen to what feels right. And if it doesn't work, then try something else. You're not a failure because you had a relapse. I'm sorry. You're just not. It is not starting over ever if you learn something, right? We'd have zero wisdom if we never failed. That's an important thing, I think, to remember.
Absolutely right.
Well,
so I got an important question for you because you're more the expert on this than I am. Are the Bills doing something really impressive right now in the football world?
Well, my son is a fan of the Bills. He picked that team. I don't know why, but
because I went into a random upscale grocery store in an upscale portion of Richmond, Virginia. Now, Virginia, and lots and lots and lots of Bills merchandise.
Oh,
and people buying it.
Yeah, they're in the playoffs, man. I'm hoping for
Okay.
a Bills Lions. Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping for a Bills Lions Super Bowl so we can have somebody's going to walk out of there with their first Super Bowl win. There are no losers in that one.
Lions looking good, man.
We're
looking good.
Everybody keeps talking about, like, my boss came in and she's like, oh, yeah, how about the Lions? And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. She's like, come on. And I'm like, I have been defeated and had my guts stomped out by these assholes for almost 40. I'm 43. So however long that you can watch and care about football over and over and over again. And you want me to get excited prematurely?
It's like being a Georgia fan up until 2022. It's like, well, we've had 40 years of the same shit.
Right?
Like, hey, we're pretty good this season. We won 10. Like, well, that was a 5-win season.
Thanks for joining the discussion, Kyle.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, so we got a good game this Saturday. I like the matchup against the Commanders. And we might face Stafford again to get to the Super Bowl. I don't like it. And the Eagles are pretty good, but they seem to be another one of those teams that make it to the NFC Championship game and drop a big turd.
Yeah,
so
but it's because half their fucking lineup's Georgia players. What if anybody's ever made that connection?
I haven't. I have to look down see how many Georgia guys I got on there. So so go Lions, and that was a quick hour, my friend.
That was fast.
We had 66 people right now tuned in. Yep, and it means a lot to listen. I wish we had, like Adam said, a better way to communicate a little quicker. I have it made. I just haven't went through with it yet. If anybody knows what Discord is, it's something that we use for gaming to talk, amongst ourselves. But I did make a Sober Heathen Discord where people can come in and they can text chat or they can voice chat. I even set up a couple private rooms where you can do max people with 2 people, so you and somebody else can go and have a private conversation if you want. Cool. Something that I hope to roll out here pretty quickly, and I don't know how crazy it's going to be to try to maintain something like that. That's why I'm kind of hesitant. But I just don't want a bunch of people get in there and fighting, and making it something it's not. You know what I mean? I don't. So, okay, well, I'm good if you're good.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, and have a great night.
Adios.